1 says, find the coefficient of x squared in the binomial expansion of 2 plus x raised to the fifth. So this is the fifth power on the binomial theorem. It will have 6 terms. All we care about is the coefficient of one of those terms. So I'm going to lay it out the first time just so you see what's going on. So we're going to have 2 to the fifth plus, and if you look at the Pascal's triangle, the coefficients are 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. Right? So I pull down the 1 times 2 to the fifth. For the next term, I'm going to bring down the 5. So 5 times what? 2 to the fourth and x to the first. Then I bring down the 10. So plus 10 times 2 to the third, x to the second. And I could keep going, right? But what answer am I looking for? It's, if you look at the problem, it says, what is the coefficient of the x squared term? This one actually has a first term as a constant, because if you look at the binomial, it's not written in the order that we usually do. So technically, if you were to solve this whole thing out, you'd have to reflect everything around to write it the right way. But it's not asking us to do that. All it's saying is, what is the coefficient, which means the number in front of x squared. So if we look at this term, 10 times 2 to the third is 10 times 27, 270. So well, no, it's just 270. Oh, no, I was thinking 3 to the third. Sorry. How about 80? So this is 10 times 8 x squared, but it doesn't even want the x squared. It's just asking for the coefficient, which means the number in front. So the answer to number 1 is 80. So for number 2, let's not do all of that work. I mean, we don't need to write it all out. So what is the coefficient of the x squared term? Which term is it? Is it the first term? No. What would the exponent on x be in the first term? X to the fifth. Is it the second term? No, because that would be x to the fourth. Third term would be x to the third. The fourth term would be x squared. So if I look at the triangle, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1, which number do I start with? So this would be term 1, 2, 3, 4, or x to the fifth, x to the fourth, x to the third, x squared. So it's going to be 10 times x squared. Do I need that? No, because we're just doing coefficient. Times 2 to the 0, 1, 2, 3. 2 to the third, which happens to also be 80. It's the same problem as number 1, so if you're looking for the x squared term in both, they're going to be the same number. Okay, so look at number 7. We want the second term in the expansion of y minus 2 to the x to the fourth. Number 7. So if we look at Pascal's triangle, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, what coefficient do I pull from the triangle? The second term would be a 4. So 4 times y to the... Why do I need to do y to the fourth this time? It asks for the term, not the coefficient. So it doesn't want to know what is the number in front of the variables. It wants to know the entire term. So I need y to the third times 2 to the first, 2x to the first. So 2 to the first, x to the first. So what's my answer? So, yeah. I'm having issues. Yes, it's negative. How come? Every other term is negative. Right? The first term is positive, and the second term will be negative. So when your second term in the binomial is negative, every other term is going to be negative, and this happens to be the second term. And you can see that if I were to do negative 2 to the first, does the negative go away? No. But the next term will be negative 2 to the second, x to the second. Will that eliminate the negative? Yes. And the next one would be negative 2 to the third, x to the third. Will the negative remain? Yes. So this is actually negative 8 y to the third x. Does that make sense? Okay, and then let's do number 11. These are the entire problem, but I never go higher than 5. Okay, let's do 14. So, we go to Pascal's triangle, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, 1. So for the first term, it's going to be 1 times 2 to the fifth, and then x to the third to the fifth is x to the 15th. I have 5 copies of x to the third. So you multiply that to get x to the 15th. And then plus, bring down the 5 from the triangle. Well, it's 1 to the 0, which is 1. Right? The first term does not have, this term will never include anything from there, because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like the last term has no x's in it. The first term has no constant in it. All right, so 5 times 2 to the fourth, x to the third to the fourth would be x to the 12th. Plus, we bring down the 10 from the triangle, times 2 to the third, x to the third would be x to the 9th, and 1 to the 1, yeah, it's just 1. So this is 1 to the 0, this is 1 to the first, this is 1 squared. So we don't need to worry about the 1's in this case, because they're all just 1. So bring down the other 10, 2 to the second, x to the 6th, times 1. Bring down the 5, 5 times 2 to the first, x to the third, times 1, plus 1 times 1 to the fifth, which is 1. And then you can just multiply those out to get the coefficients. Okay, do you have answers on your paper? No? Okay, I'll put them up on the board. All right, good luck.